I'd played in local bands before that, and then I got into Ozzy and just thrust right away into playing arenas.
After decades of silence, legendary guitarist Jake E. Lee has finally opened up about his time with Ozzy Osbourne, and no one saw this coming. Known for their tumultuous history and creative clashes, many expected bitterness or blame. Instead, Jake offered something far more unexpected: grace, reflection, and heartfelt words that revealed a bond deeper than anyone imagined. So what did he say that left longtime fans reeling? Who was Ozzy Osbourne? Ozzy Osbourne was one of the most powerful and unforgettable names in rock music. With a wild image, a loud voice, and a heart full of fire, he ruled the heavy metal world for many years. Fans called him the Prince of Darkness, but he gave them more than just dark songs. He gave them stories, energy, and moments they would never forget. Ozzy's voice could shake a stadium, but his presence could also move people in silence. His life was a mix of fame, music, mistakes, love, and deep struggles. Through everything, he never let go of the music that gave him life. Ozzy first became known to the world as the lead singer of Black Sabbath, one of the first heavy metal bands ever. He helped create a sound that was heavy, loud, and very different. After some years with the band, Ozzy went solo and created music that millions of people loved. His songs were full of strong feelings, wild ideas, and real pain. No matter what happened in his life, he always came back with new songs and shows. He turned chaos into creativity and gave fans a reason to keep listening. Ozzy's career lasted for decades, and through the years, he worked with many other famous artists. He also became known for his reality TV show, which gave the world a look into his personal life. It showed a man who was funny, kind, and confused at times, but always loving. The show made him even more popular and reminded people that behind the loud music was a human being with a big heart and a crazy but loving family. Despite his health issues and personal struggles, he always wanted to make people laugh and sing. In his final years, Ozzy had a hard time. His health started to get worse, and he faced many battles that were hard to hide. He was diagnosed with several serious conditions, and his body slowly became weaker. But even in those moments, he stayed close to his fans. He gave updates, shared news, and let the world see the man behind the music. He didn't hide from the truth. He faced it with honesty and love. As he grew older, he talked about his fears, his regrets, and the things that still mattered to him. Family was always at the center of his world. The news of Ozzy Osbourne's death was something fans around the world didn't want to hear. It felt like a huge piece of music history was suddenly gone. He passed away peacefully, surrounded by those who loved him most. There were no flashing lights, no loud music, just a quiet goodbye. It was the end of a journey that had taken him through high places and dark valleys. His family stood by him in his last moments, giving him comfort and love. After his death, fans, friends, and fellow musicians paid tribute. They shared stories, memories, and photos that showed how much he meant to them. His voice may have stopped, but the echoes of his songs kept playing everywhere. People cried, but they also smiled, remembering the man who gave them courage to be themselves. His life reminded people that it was okay to make mistakes, okay to feel pain, and okay to keep going. So, what was the relationship between Ozzy and Jake E. Lee? Was it on a positive note? Let's find out. Collaboration between Ozzy Osbourne and Jake E. Lee. Jake E. Lee didn't burst into the music world with noise or fame. He entered quietly, with nothing but a guitar and a hunger to play. No headlines followed him in those early days. No big breaks, just small bands and harder days. His hands learned the guitar not in stadiums but in simple rooms, playing with unknown groups across San Diego. He took every gig as a step, slowly climbing. But even after his fingers danced over the strings with ease, life didn't offer him quick rewards. He knew he needed something more, and so he left home for Los Angeles, the place where every dreamer gathered. But LA didn't welcome Jake with open arms. The streets were packed with hopefuls. Bands filled every corner of the Sunset Strip, all fighting for the same chance. Jake moved from one group to another, first Teaser, then Mickey Rat, before it became the glam band Rat. He never stayed long, but he used each stop to sharpen his skills. He watched, he learned, he waited. Slowly, he built a name underground. That's where he caught the attention of Rough Cut, a new band managed by Wendy Dio, the wife of metal legend Ronnie James Dio. Her belief in Jake would change everything. When Randy Rhoads, Ozzy Osbourne's beloved guitarist, passed away in a tragic plane crash, Ozzy was left broken. Sharon Osbourne, his wife and manager, was quietly searching for someone to fill the space left behind. Wendy brought Jake to her. There was no big event, just a quiet audition. But it was intense. Jake went head-to-head with George Lynch, already a known figure in rock. Both were incredible, but Jake had something different. During one practice, he played a riff that no one expected. It wasn't loud or wild. It was strange, raw, and powerful. Ozzy noticed. That was all it took. He turned to Sharon, and just like that, Jake was chosen. Jake didn't get the gig because he was famous. He got it because his playing had a quiet boldness. He controlled the guitar with care, but pushed its sound to wild places. Ozzy had lost someone dear. He needed more than talent. He needed soul. And Jake gave him that. From the shadows of local clubs, Jake stepped into the biggest stage of metal music. No noise, no big words, just a man and his guitar. In 1983, their first major work together came out. The album Bark at the Moon marked Jake's official debut with Ozzy. The sound was different, sharper, deeper, and modern. It was metal, but with twists. Jake's style brought freshness. His riffs were everywhere. The solos soared. Songs like Rock and Roll Rebel and Center of Eternity carried his touch. The title track, Bark at the Moon, came from riffs Jake had built back in his Rough Cut days. He had shaped it for years, but when the album was released, Jake's name was missing from the songwriting credits. Only Ozzy's name appeared. The truth behind it was painful. Jake had written parts of the music, but he was forced to sign a contract. He was told to sign it or lose the job. Sharon made it clear. No signature, no place. So he signed. That paper erased his rights to the songs. He got no credit, no royalties, and no voice to fight back. It hurt, but he stayed quiet. The world called it Ozzy's work, not knowing the music had come from a soft-spoken man in the shadows. Still, Jake kept going. He didn't let bitterness stop him. He recorded The Ultimate Sin with Ozzy in 1986. This album had a glam metal edge, fitting the style of the time. One track, Shot in the Dark, became a major hit. Its video played everywhere, and fans couldn't get enough. The tour was a huge success. On stage, Jake wasn't flashy. He didn't jump or scream. He played clean and with feeling. His guitar spoke for him. Every note was measured, every solo full of emotion. His playing wasn't like Randy Rhoads, nor was it like Zakk Wylde, Ozzy's next guitarist. Jake had his own sound, sharp, smooth, and quiet like a storm. But before the music could continue, Jake was pushed out again. After the tour, he didn't get a call. He didn't hear anything. Then, one day, he saw the news. Ozzy had a new guitarist, Zakk Wylde. Jake had been fired without a word. Just like that, he was gone. No warning, no goodbye. Sharon had once brought him in, and now she had taken it all away again. He didn't scream or make trouble. He didn't take legal action. He just walked away in silence, carrying with him all the work he had poured into Ozzy's music. That silence held a wound, not because he lost fame, but because everything he had given, the music, the time, the soul, was never properly seen. Still, Jake didn't let it ruin him. He didn't chase after another big name or try to fit into someone else's story. Instead, he started over. He formed Badlands, his own band. It was a risk. No promise of chart toppers or sold-out arenas. But it gave him something more important: freedom. This time, he could write, play, and lead without someone else taking his name off the credits. But was Jake able to make it on his own without Ozzy? Jake E. Lee's silent struggles after Ozzy. After parting ways with Ozzy Osbourne, Jake E. Lee didn't stay quiet forever. Though his exit from the band came without warning or explanation, he wasn't ready to give up on music. In 1988, he took a bold step forward and formed a new band called Badlands. This group was different. It was built on honesty, power, and a desire to make music with no rules. He gathered a team of talented musicians, including Ray Gillen, a powerful singer who had once performed with Black Sabbath, drummer Eric Singer, who would later join Kiss, and bassist Greg Chasson. Together, they created a sound that felt real. Their first album, Badlands, was released in 1989 and caught people's attention right away. It didn't follow the flashy style of glam metal that was everywhere on MTV. Instead, it had a deep blues rock sound, full of strength and soul. Jake's guitar work was clean and powerful. Ray's voice brought the songs to life. The album was a success among critics and fans who wanted something more heartfelt than the usual noise. For Jake, it felt like a fresh start, one where he had control. But just as things were looking good, a shift began in the music world. The grunge wave was rising, and the music scene began to change. Bands like Nirvana, Pearl Jam, and Soundgarden were taking over. Labels wanted all artists to match the new style. Jake and his band faced pressure to change, to fit the trend. But Jake refused. He didn't want to copy others. He didn't care about fitting in if it meant losing the kind of music he believed in. In 1991, Badlands released their second album, Voodoo Highway. It pushed their creativity even further, but while the music was growing, problems inside the band were growing too. There were arguments about the direction of the music. Some members didn't agree with Jake's choices. The pressure from the label and the clash of ideas created tension. The spirit that once made the band strong started to crack. Then, something happened that Jake never saw coming. Ray Gillen, the band's lead singer and Jake's close friend, was diagnosed with AIDS. The illness took over quickly. Ray couldn't record or perform anymore. Jake had poured his heart into the songs Ray sang, and now that voice was fading. In December 1993, Ray passed away at just 34 years old. The loss was too heavy. Jake didn't make any public comments. He didn't try to explain how he felt. But those around him said the pain ran deep. He had lost more than a bandmate. He had lost hope that music could survive without being shaped by money or pressure. After Ray's death, Jake disappeared. He stepped away from the spotlight and away from the world of music. Offers came. People wanted to work with him, but he said no. He didn't go to concerts, didn't give interviews, didn't release anything. It was like he vanished. Some said he had retired. Others thought he had fallen into sadness or left music behind for good. But no one knew for sure, because Jake didn't explain. He just went silent. In 1996, something surprising happened. Jake released a solo album called A Fine Pink Mist. It had no words, just instruments. No big ads, no press, just music. It felt like a letter to the few who still remembered him. It was soft, thoughtful, and full of emotion. Then, in 2005, he released another project called Retraced, where he played older songs by other artists. After that, he went quiet again. Years passed. Then, in 2024, Jake's name appeared in the news for a heartbreaking reason. While walking his dog near his home in Las Vegas, Jake was fired multiple times. The attack was sudden, and the reason behind it was unknown. The injuries were serious. His arm, leg, and back were hurt. He was rushed to the hospital, and many feared the worst. But somehow, none of the bullets hit his vital organs. He survived. When people asked him about it later, his answer was chilling. He said that he had been fired many times in life, and this was just the first with a real gun. It was quiet, sharp, and full of pain. He didn't shout, didn't cry out. He simply took the hurt and kept going. That was who Jake E. Lee was. Ozzy's new journey after Jake E. Lee's. When Jake E. Lee's time with Ozzy Osbourne came to an end, a new chapter quietly began. Ozzy didn't pause or look back for long. He was always moving forward, always chasing the next sound. After the Ultimate Sin tour, the world woke up to news that Jake was out, and a new name had taken his place: Zakk Wylde. With long blonde hair, youthful energy, and fierce guitar skills, Zakk brought a new kind of fire to Ozzy's music. Zakk Wylde's style was different. Where Jake E. Lee was smooth and precise, Zakk was heavy and wild. His guitar playing was louder, more aggressive, and full of raw emotion. This new energy fit well with where Ozzy wanted to go. He was still known as the Prince of Darkness, but now he had a guitarist who could match his bold stage presence. Together, they set out to create a new sound that would keep Ozzy relevant in a changing music world. Their first album together was No Rest for the Wicked, released in 1988. It marked the beginning of a fresh sound, harder and more intense. Zakk's powerful guitar work gave the songs a new edge, and fans responded with excitement. The album performed well, and the songs became fan favorites. Ozzy proved he wasn't stuck in the past. He was adapting, but still staying true to himself. As the years moved on, Ozzy and Zakk grew closer. Their partnership felt like a solid match. In 1991, they released No More Tears, which became one of Ozzy's most successful albums. It had a richer, more emotional sound, blending heavy rock with deep lyrics. The title track especially stood out, with a haunting mix of sadness and strength. It showed a softer side of Ozzy, one that fans hadn't seen much before. The album reached new heights, selling millions of copies around the world. Ozzy didn't stop there. He kept touring, performing, and building his legacy. His shows were bigger, the crowds louder, and the love stronger. He never gave up on music, no matter how the industry changed. Through all the ups and downs, Ozzy stayed in the spotlight with the same wild spirit that made him a legend. He also gave space for Zach to shine. Their bond on stage was real, with loud solos and shared moments that fans never forgot. But Ozzy's journey wasn't just about music. In the 2000s, he surprised everyone by letting the world into his home through reality TV. The Osbournes, a show about his family life, became a hit. It showed a different side of the rock star, funny, confused, and loving. People laughed, cried, and saw that behind the makeup and loud music was a man who cared deeply for his family. Even as new trends came and went, Ozzy held on to what made him special. He tried new things, but never lost his voice. He kept releasing albums with bold sounds and emotional depth. From Osmosis in 1995 to Black Rain in 2007 and Scream in 2010, he proved that age didn't stop creativity. His voice grew older, but it still had power. His lyrics still spoke to people who felt lost, angry, or misunderstood. Ozzy also faced many challenges along the way: health problems, personal losses, and changing bandmates could have ended his career. But they didn't. He kept showing up, kept singing, and kept being Ozzy. He took long breaks when needed, but he always returned. Each time, the world welcomed him back like a hero. In 2020, he released Ordinary Man, showing a reflective side. The album was full of emotion, looking back at his life with both pride and sadness. It was a message to his fans and to himself. Even with pain and struggles, his love for music never faded. He followed it all the way, through every change, every twist, and every turn. So, after being kicked out from Ozzy's team, do you think he continued successfully, or he faded into silence? Jake E. Lee's quiet life. In a world where artists often share every meal, moment, and emotion online, Jake E. Lee stayed far away from all of it. While other musicians flooded social media with their daily lives, Jake chose silence. He never chased headlines or tried to shape a public image. He didn't care to be followed or photographed. Very few people even know who he spends his days with. He's never been married, has no children, and never made any grand announcement about his love life. To many, this might look like loneliness, but to Jake, it's simply peace. For many years, Jake lived in a small home on the edges of Las Vegas. It wasn't flashy, and it wasn't filled with crowds. Instead, it was quiet, just the way he liked it. His companions were his dogs, his old guitar amps, and a wall of guitars that each told a part of his story. There were no red carpets or luxury cars, just the things he loved and needed. Jake wasn't one for parties, industry events, or public appearances. He didn't play the fame game. After the difficult years in the music business, after being removed from credits, dropped without warning, and watching friends pass away, he learned to protect himself. That protection came in the form of silence. Not weakness, not fear, just a wall to keep out the pain. Over the years, there were rumors. People guessed he had health problems or had fallen into trouble. But the truth was far more simple. Jake was still writing, still playing, still creating. He just wasn't telling the world about it. To him, music didn't need cameras or a stage. Real music happened late at night, in an empty room, when nobody was watching and nobody needed to be impressed. If Jake had one true relationship in life, it was with the guitar. He treated his instruments with deep care, always keeping them in good condition. One guitar stayed with him for over 30 years, even as the wood cracked and paint chipped. He never sold it. It meant something. It was more than a tool. It was part of who he was. Like Jake himself, it aged quietly, without ever trying to become something new or popular. Some people think love must mean romance, but Jake found love in freedom. He loved the silence, the sound of strings under his fingers, and the ability to make music without outside pressure. He didn't stay alone because he was forgotten. He stayed alone because what he needed, truth, calm, and purpose, couldn't be found in the spotlight. Jake never had a huge solo career. His name isn't carved into sidewalks. Big brands never lined up to make him their face. But among guitarists, his name is whispered with respect. People who play seriously know what makes Jake special. He didn't play fast just to show off. His solos told stories with emotion, structure, and depth. Bark at the Moon, even with his name erased, carries his spirit. That guitar tone, that feeling, it's all him. In Badlands, Jake showed another side. He wasn't just a guitarist. He was a leader, a writer, a voice behind the sound. Though the band was overlooked at the time, fans and critics now realize how rich that music was. It could have been legendary, but like Jake, it was passed over, left behind too soon. Still, the music remains. His fingerprints are on every track, every moment, even when credit was taken away. It's a hard truth that Jake's legacy has been quietly pushed aside in music history. Search for him, and sometimes he's just a forgotten name in a list. He isn't always invited back. He doesn't speak at award shows, but his style lives on. Young guitarists copy his phrasing without knowing it. His sound echoes through decades. He didn't need trophies to matter. He mattered because he was real. Then, in 2024, something happened that could have ended everything. One early morning, Jake was walking his dog when he came across two men trying to steal a neighbor's motorcycle. He tried to stop them, not with anger, but with words. But things went wrong fast. Gunshots rang out. Jake was hit in the arm, leg, and back. One bullet fractured a rib and damaged his lung. He was rushed to the hospital and barely made it. But Jake survived. Afterward, he shared what had happened. He'd stepped in to help someone else. He didn't brag. He didn't cry out for attention. And once again, just like always, he quietly began to recover. Even with damage to his hand and pain in his body, Jake picked up the guitar again. Doctors had told him he had cartilage loss. Surgery was an option, but he said no. Instead, he adjusted his playing, using more of his elbow and finding new ways to make music. Because for Jake, playing wasn't a job. It was how he stayed alive. It was how he healed. He began preparing to return to the stage with Red Dragon Cartel, his band that had been paused during the pandemic. Slowly but surely, he was making his way back. Not for fame, not for money, but for the music itself. Jake E. Lee was never the most celebrated guitarist. He never chased the spotlight, and he didn't win the biggest awards. But he was always himself. He never pretended. He never sold out. He didn't follow trends or play games. When he couldn't be honest in the industry, he stepped back. And when others were loud, he let his guitar do the talking. Now that we have known about the relationship between Ozzy and Jake, What do you think made Jake E. Lee come out to say kind words about the man that did him wrong? Jake E. Lee's final words for Ozzy. When the news broke that Ozzy Osbourne had passed away, the music world paused in silence. Among the many voices reflecting on the loss, Jake E. Lee's stood out, not because it was loud, but because it was rare. For many years, Jake had chosen a quiet life away from the spotlight, letting his guitar speak more than his words. But this moment, the passing of someone who had once meant something more than fame, stirred a deep response in him. Jake and Ozzy shared a bond that reached far beyond music. Even though they had not spoken publicly about each other in a long time, there was a certain respect between them that never faded. They didn't talk every day or post pictures together, but their connection was always there, quiet, strong, and private. What they had wasn't built on cameras or headlines. It was built on shared moments that shaped both of their lives in ways few could understand. Before Ozzy's passing, there had been some soft talk in the music community about the two reconnecting. Nothing official, just a few whispers that perhaps they had shared a call or a message. Jake never confirmed it. He never needed to. His actions always said more than words ever could. He carried a kind of silent loyalty toward Ozzy, not because everything between them had been perfect, but because it had been real. In interviews following the news, Jake did not rush to speak. When he finally did, his words came slowly, carefully, with the same precision he once used on the strings of his guitar. He didn't describe Ozzy with fancy phrases. Instead, he spoke with warmth, saying that Ozzy had been larger than life, but also very human. That even with all the lights, stages, and crowds, Ozzy still had moments of quiet kindness that people didn't always see. Jake didn't focus on the music they had made together or the places they had toured. Instead, he remembered the person behind the name. He saw Ozzy as a man who carried the weight of being a legend, while trying to hold on to parts of himself. A man who laughed deeply, even on hard days. A man who had his faults, but also had a strange way of inspiring those around him to give more, try harder, and believe in something bigger than themselves. Their relationship had its ups and downs, like most deep connections do. They had drifted apart after their time together, but the distance never turned into bitterness. For Jake, Ozzy was always someone who had changed the direction of his life, not just in music, but in belief. Belief that wild dreams could come true, even if only for a short while. Belief that music could still feel like magic. As the years passed, Jake kept to himself. He watched from afar as Ozzy went on to do more albums, more shows, more television appearances. He never criticized, never mocked. He always showed quiet support, even if it came only through a soft nod during interviews or a thoughtful pause when Ozzy's name came up. That silence was filled with memory, with gratitude, with respect. In his tribute, Jake said that Ozzy had left behind more than albums. He had left behind a spark that had once lit up rehearsal rooms, recording studios, and stages all over the world. A spark that still glowed in the hearts of musicians like himself. Jake admitted that he didn't always understand every decision Ozzy made, but he always understood the heart behind it. And for that, he was grateful. He ended his words with something simple. No big speech, no emotional collapse, just a soft farewell to a man who had once been more than just a boss, more than just a name. Ozzy had been a force in his life, one that came like a storm, shook everything up, and then moved on. And even after the storm passed, the sky never looked quite the same. If you enjoyed this video, like and subscribe, and also click the next video shown on your screen.